Drug development timelines are shrinking in ways that change investor math. A process that once took 12 years may take 4. That compression comes largely from artificial intelligence. The evidence is now specific enough to matter for long-term portfolios. Sanofi recently signed a multi-year agreement with AI company Owkin. The deal involves a 5-year license for Owkin's biological AI platform. That platform fuses patient data with AI to accelerate drug discovery. The collaboration targets everything from early research to clinical trials. This is not a research curiosity or a press release strategy. It is a structured commercial commitment with measurable pipeline implications. Labcorp separately launched an AI-powered app for patients this year. It helps individuals understand their own lab results directly. OpenAI introduced a version of ChatGPT specifically for verified clinicians. That tool supports clinical documentation and medical research tasks. These announcements arrive within weeks of each other, not years. The pattern suggests a sector-wide adoption shift, not isolated experiments. For a long-term investor, this matters beyond simple enthusiasm. AI adoption in healthcare touches drug costs, hospital margins, and insurers. It also affects the companies building and maintaining this infrastructure. Think about how pharmaceutical development has traditionally worked. A company discovers a promising compound through years of laboratory testing. It then runs trials that consume enormous capital before any revenue appears. Failure rates historically exceed 90% across early-stage candidates. AI changes that equation by identifying viable candidates faster and more precisely. Owkin's platform uses multimodal patient data combined with biological modeling. That means it draws on imaging, genetics, clinical history, and drug interaction data. The goal is to reduce the expensive failures that drain pharmaceutical budgets. If that succeeds, even partially, profit margins for successful drugs improve. Faster trials also mean patents retain more of their protection period. A drug reaching market 2 years earlier earns 2 additional revenue years. That is meaningful for any company carrying long development stage debt. Now, consider what this means for investors already holding broad market funds. Large pharmaceutical companies represent a significant share of healthcare indexes. Many dividend-focused ETFs carry meaningful healthcare sector weights. If drug development becomes structurally more efficient, winners may concentrate. Firms that adopt AI platforms earliest may widen their competitive lead. Firms that delay adoption may face rising relative costs by comparison. This is not a guarantee of sector-wide profit expansion. It is a shifting cost structure that could sort companies over time. The robotics angle also deserves attention here. Research confirms that AI models are now programming robotic systems dramatically faster. Anthropic's Claude model reportedly achieved 20 times faster robodog programming compared to recent human benchmarks. Robotics in healthcare settings, including surgical assistance and lab automation, depends on exactly this capability. AI-programmed laboratory robots could further accelerate pharmaceutical testing timelines. Hospital systems considering robotic surgery or automated sample processing face similar dynamics. Companies supplying that robotic infrastructure carry indirect exposure to healthcare AI adoption. Semiconductor manufacturers enabling the underlying compute also participate in this chain. There is a household dimension to this story as well. Prescription drug costs remain a significant household budget item across North America. If AI genuinely shortens development timelines and reduces failure rates, pricing pressure may shift. More approved drugs reaching market faster could increase therapeutic competition. That competition, over time, can reduce prices for comparable treatments. This is not certain because pharmaceutical pricing involves regulatory and insurance factors, but structural cost reduction in development does create conditions for competitive pricing pressure. For households carrying high prescription costs, that is a slow-moving positive signal. For healthcare investors, it means revenue concentration may shift toward innovators. Now, consider the counter-argument, because it is credible and important. AI adoption in drug development does not automatically translate into better financial outcomes. The technology is genuinely new and biology remains deeply complex. A faster pipeline that produces more failed drugs at later stages could increase costs. Regulatory approval processes have not fundamentally changed to match AI development speeds. A drug identified faster still faces the same clinical trial requirements for approval. Insurance reimbursement decisions also remain largely disconnected from development efficiency gains. Healthcare AI tools may also introduce new liability questions that increase legal expenses. The Owkin-Sanofi partnership is one data point, not a proven industry-wide transformation. Investors who priced in dramatic pharmaceutical margin expansion may be ahead of the evidence. The signal is real and structural, but the timeline for financial impact is uncertain. Enthusiasm in a sector can run well ahead of earnings realization. The open source dimension adds another layer of complexity. Several AI models relevant to healthcare research are now freely available. Smaller pharmaceutical companies and research institutions can access these tools without major licensing costs. This could democratize drug discovery and create meaningful competition for large incumbents. A mid-sized biotech using open-weight AI tools effectively could challenge a larger company's pipeline lead. Index investors holding only large-cap healthcare exposure may miss where returns actually develop. Broad healthcare indexes include insurers, hospital operators, and device makers alongside pharmaceutical firms. Each of those segments responds differently to AI-driven efficiency changes. Understanding which subsectors benefit most requires more than a single index fund position. What should a long-term investor actually monitor here? 3 indicators carry the most signal going forward. First, watch pharmaceutical company research and development spending as a percentage of revenue. If that ratio begins declining meaningfully while pipeline approvals hold steady or increase, AI efficiency is showing up in real financials. Second, watch regulatory language from the FDA and equivalent agencies in Canada, the UK, and Australia. Regulators may begin developing AI-specific approval frameworks that either accelerate or constrain these timelines. Any formal regulatory update in this area significantly affects how quickly the financial benefit arrives. Third, watch partnership and licensing announcements between AI companies and major drug developers. The Owkin Sanofi deal is one example, but the pace of similar announcements matters. A cluster of multi-year deals signals industry conviction rather than isolated experimentation. If you find this kind of macro to portfolio analysis useful, subscribe for a new signal every week. The AI transformation in healthcare and pharmaceuticals is structural, not temporary, but the financial benefits will arrive unevenly across companies, subsectors, and time horizons. The investors most likely to navigate that well are those monitoring the evidence rather than the headlines. Which part of your current portfolio do you think carries the most exposure to this shift?